feet away from her. Nowhere near her.
Not even an arm's length away.
And then she gets yanked into a room and the door locks behind her. It's so scary. This is actually a good episode in terms of, like, scariness.
It is creepy. Yeah, we're downplaying it.
Mostly for this moment, honestly. Like, this is, like, one of my favorite moments, I think, in terms of I was scared. Sam tells her to calm down and face the ghost, and she yells back, "You face it," which, like, same girl. But when she does, the ghost whispers in her ear and lets her go, and the ghost told her 137, and Sam and Dean talk at the same time, which I love.
Nice. So far, the only issue with the ghosts is that they have no concept of personal space. They're creepy.
And they say room number because they are jumping to conclusions correctly again.
Yay.
Kat and Gavin are ready to go home. They're like, "This has been great, thank you, we'd like to leave." So Dean's like, "I'm gonna go ahead and find room 137. Sam's gonna take you guys outside." Kat asks why anyone would want to work a job hunting ghosts and whatever, and Sam says he has a crappy guidance counselor, which is hilarious. I love Sam. He's so, like, sarcastic and funny. Like, he's a different kind of funny. Like, Dean thinks he's cute when he says sarcastic things. Like, Dean says something sarcastic and then he makes a face like, "Aren't I cute?" Sam just is sarcastic for the hell of being sarcastic. He doesn't expect anything in return.
I like that. That's my kind of humor.
And I love it. I love him, honestly.
This is like the only outlet I have for how salty I am. So, I had a crappy guidance counselor.
Kat asks if Dean is Sam's boss, which Sam says no, doesn't elaborate further. It's just no.
God, we got stuck with the fun one.
Sam can't open the doors. Something is keeping them in the hospital, asylum, whatever you want to call it. Dean uncovers a hidden folder. It's like a journal. It says patient's journal on the front. It's filled with stuff about brains and trepanation. It's really neatly written, detailed diagrams, and, like, the other half of it is, like, aggressive scribbling over the neat printing and diagrams.
I guess someone got mad.
I don't know what's going on with it. Sam gets a call from Dean that he needs help in the basement, so Sam asks if either Kat or Gavin can handle a shotgun. Kat says that she can, so Sam just hands the teenager a shotgun and leaves them there.
I mean, he used to be that teenager with a shotgun, so we can forgive him.
Go forth, children, and shoot anything that moves.
I like Kat.
Sam ends up in the same part of the basement that Officer Walt was in. We recognize the doors. And Dean is not down there. Sam's flashlight craps out now.
Yay!
Temporarily, because later on it's working again. The same door opens that opened for Officer Walt, and Sam goes in there, and he gets grabbed by Dr. Ellicott.
Who is absolutely charming.
Looks scary as fuck.
I would definitely want to be treated by this man. He looks sane.
He looks a little bit like Einstein and a little bit like Doc Brown and a little bit like the Mummy.
It is a great combination.
Kat says that she's gonna break up with Gavin if they don't die, and then nearly shoots Dean with rock salt. And I hope that she does break up with Gavin.
Please.
Much like Amanda's ex-boyfriend in Phantom Traveler, you can do better.
Yeah. I mean, he took you into an abandoned building that is filled with ghosts, and he didn't listen to your frequent pleas to do something else.
Literally, you should have just taken her to a movie.
You could have avoided this, Gavin.
I was a teen who wanted to go ghost hunting, so I would have done it for a date idea, especially if the other person wasn't into it. They tell Dean that Sam got a phone call from him, which he didn't make, and they tell him where he was headed, so he also leaves them alone with the shotgun. Keep doing what you're doing, but don't shoot me if I come back.
Alright, yep. We don't have very many options here.
Dean is now wandering around the basement because everyone's just wandering, and Sam is just looming in the dark.
I mean, it's scary when Sam looms, because when he does, he's like a 6'4" shadow, so he literally looms.
He's so tall, but he's such a baby face at this point. If season like 6, I was gonna say season 16 Sam like that existed. If season like 13 Sam was looming in the dark, it would be so much scarier. Dean tells us all about how Dr. Ellicott was doing some crazy rage experimenting on patients.
Right.
And he starts looking for the hidden room. Sam's either lying in wait or doesn't remember finding the hidden room. It doesn't really matter, but he's like not indicating he knows where the hidden room is. It's fine. Sam's flashlight's working again, and his nose is bleeding like Officer Waltz was.
You know, on a show like this, I don't really get that worried when something like this happens to one of the main characters so early, because then we find out the thing is fixable.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, so it's weirdly hopeful when stuff like this happens.
Dean is, still looking for the hidden room. Sam tells him to step back from the door. And this is the point where I remembered why this episode had so much of the boys fighting throughout, because it's all about to, like, come to a head. Not unlike in Skin, in the Shifter episode. The boys have some fighting to do that the supernatural beings are just gonna, like, help them work through.
It's great.
Just get some emotions out in the open.
You had to get zapped by a ghost first, but great, if that's what it takes.
Sam has a gun on Dean, which is always upsetting. Dean makes a friendly request for Sam to lower the gun.
I'm sorry, just the language you're using, like, which is always upsetting. It's a firearm.
Dean reminds Sam that the gun's filled with rock salt, so it's not gonna kill him.
It won't be comfy.
And Sam's like, oh, good, and then shoots him.
I mean, you just put salt in the wound, literally.
Literally. Sam then waits for Dean to regain consciousness. Like, he shoots Dean with rock salt, he goes through a wall, and then Sam just, like, waits for him to wake up again.
It's like, should I have brought the smelling salts instead of the rock salt? Like...
Sam's monologue wavers between actually yelling and whisper yelling, because it's Sam. This episode is not free of the whispering.
I think it's worse in this context.
I think so too. Sam is sick of listening to Dean. Apparently it's been 6 months that they've been together, so that's a somewhat definitive timeline. So we can say it's probably early-ish April of 2006.
Fair.
Just, for a timestamp. I'm always going to keep pointing out the timestamps.
Because we want to know when this is happening.
Oh, that reminds me. I did want to shout out a source I've been using. It's a live journal. I found this live journal master post by Hell's Half Acre, which great username, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a super definitive timeline of the show, like prioritize the information. So they wanted to find dates that things happened using the dialogue, then the art department clues, then other official sources, then like conjecture. Also like kept track of like locations so they can estimate driving time between all of these and how many days are happening each episode.
Oh my gosh.
It's a very definitive timeline, like as accurate as you could really get on each of them. It's broken up to seasons 1 to 5, season 6, 7, seasons 8, 9, seasons, like, after season 5, it's like 2 seasons per link, but like they're all together. And there's like also a pre-series timeline as well. So it's just like the most accurate timeline I've found.
Wow, are you putting the link in the description for this? Because
I will put the link in the description. It's now my go-to source.
This is great.
Because I've been pointing them out where I can, but like I was gonna do all of this work that this person did, and then I'm like, I'm sure someone else has done this, so I like went and found a source for it, and I'm like, yes, okay, someone already did this. I'm just gonna promote their post because theirs is already there, and it's amazing.
Nice. I really want to look at this. I'm curious now.
But yeah, it's been 6 months they've been looking for John, and Sam thinks that Dean is pathetic for following John's orders, calls him a good little soldier. Dean hands Sam his gun, which immediately made me go, oh no, what's happening? Because I literally forgot what was happening.
Oh boy.
He hands Sam his gun, which he says is loaded with real bullets. As Sam stands over Dean with that gun pointed on him, Dean says, you hate me that much? You think you can kill your own brother? Then go ahead, pull the trigger. Sam does it. Sam pulls the trigger.
That's upsetting.
If this gun was not empty, Dean would be dead. So let's all take a minute to let that sink in.
And Ellicott was thorough.
Dean lunges up and knocks Sam to the ground. He knocks Sam out and then pats him on the back and says, sorry, Sammy. It's such a cute little back pat. Just like, pat, pat.
It had to be done, Sammy.
Sorry, I had to knock you out. Dean's now in the secret room, so he opens up a cabinet and finds Ellicott's body stuffed inside, because that's the first place that you would look, honestly, for a secret room. There's a body in here somewhere. Let's try this cabinet. Literally, if anyone had found this secret room, they would have found this body a long time ago.
Secret tunnel. Sorry, that's an Avatar reference.
But unfortunately, Dean takes too long salting and burning. He's gagging, which is uncharacteristic of Dean. And he takes too long. He's not getting the let out here.
Why is he gagging?
I don't know. This body is mummified. There shouldn't even be an odor. As far as bodies go, this is ideal. When you're finding a body in a cabinet, like, it's not decomposing. It's been there for 50 years.
Okay. Alright.
He takes too long, so Ellicott grabs him and starts zapping him, but Dean gets the bones lit. Good thing they're nice and dry. And Ellicott turns to stone and crumbles. I think I prefer when the ghosts just, like, combust.
Well, Ellicott's gotta be a crusty drama queen.
He, like, solidifies and then, like, falls apart. I don't like it. It literally looks like they beat a statue with a sledgehammer. Not a fan.
Ellicott. Always trying to be different, aren't you?
Sam wakes up. Dean asks if Sam is still gonna try to kill him, and Sam says no. Dean says good, because that would be awkward.
Yeah.
Sam and Dean go back to check on Kat and Gavin and actually make sure that they get outside, and they also make them promise not to go poking around any more haunted asylums, which I don't think they'll be doing.
I don't think Kat will be doing that, because she's dumping him.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I also don't think Gavin's gonna be that dumb to go back to one.
Man, I hope not.
Sam then apologizes to Dean for what he said, says he remembers what he said, but he couldn't control any of it, but he didn't mean it.
Did you?
Dean doesn't necessarily believe that Sam didn't mean it, but he does not want to talk about it.
I don't believe he didn't mean it either.
I am on the fence.
I think he meant some of it.
I think Sam's frustration that they haven't found their dad was real.
Yeah, because it's been 6 months.
I think it's frustration that Dean always seems to take their dad's side and Sam doesn't really know why. I think that's also valid. I don't think Sam, fully in control of himself, ever thinks that Dean's actually pathetic for following John's orders. I just think he knows that there's something he doesn't understand about Dean and John's relationship.
Yeah, I think that's closer to what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think he meant some of it, just not all of it.
I think the frustration was definitely real.
Yes.
But I don't think he would ever say anything negative about Dean, especially because I think Sam is more aware that Dean has such a low self-worth. I think Sam's more aware of that than Dean is.
I mean, of all people, Sam would definitely be aware of that.
And I think Sam also has a fairly low self-worth that he's also not as aware of.
The mental health check is going to be great.
It's a mess this week, guys. Cut to Dean sleeping shirtless. I can't help it. I'm staring. I'm sorry.
Alright, I'll allow it.
It's just very distracting. He has the blanket fully pulled up, so there's no real reason for him to be shirtless. But it's just like all you can see is like basically armpit and above and one arm. But like the arm is very distracting for me. We've said this again. Biceps really draw my attention.
Man, you would be great in a Victorian novel. It's like, oh my gosh, is that a wrist?
Literally, honestly, I'm not hard to please, honestly. I don't know. They always wear these like chunky watches. It's so weird. Oh god.
Just need to tell the time, and they need to be not sexy while they're doing it.
I don't know what's worse. Like a future partner is gonna hear this, or my parents could hear this. Man, it's a good time.
I think the parents would be worse.
Anyway. Dean's phone is ringing, but he's sleeping, like solidly sleeping. So Sam answers it. He sits bolt upright in bed and says, "Dad."
Yes.
Cut to black. I probably would have forgotten this show, but then as soon as I saw a single commercial for it coming back, I'm sure that this moment was in it, and I would immediately be ready to tune back in.
Yeah.
Like that's a solid mid-season finale cliffhanger. Like I don't think I would be thinking about Supernatural for those 6 weeks that it was off, but as soon as I was like, oh, Supernatural exists, okay, I need to tune in to find out about the phone call.
Yes, that's actually a really clever way to end the episode.
Solid way to end a mid-season.
Good job. So as I was saying earlier, John is basically a mythical figure at this point.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to meet him, see what he's about, see if he lives up to the hype.
So that's the recap. That's literally where the episode ends. So I guess we'll go on to our weekly segments and panels. I don't know why I said segments so weirdly.
Segments.
I think I tried to say segments and panels at the same time.
That happens. I do it all the time.
Anyway, let's update some stats and talk about some stuff and weigh in on some things. So, total death count. This week we saw 2 deaths, which brought our on-screen total to... I didn't put the number in. Why didn't I put the number in? Hold for the number 120.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. For on and off-screen totals, we had Walter, Kelly and his wife, Dr. Ellicott, the 3 other ghosts that we saw. So that's 6, potentially more, 6 plus. So that makes our total 782 plus.
My word. We're getting enough to fill a small school.
That's like double the school that we went to.
Getting enough to fill a medium school.
So I guess we're gonna go on to MVP of the week. So let's see who Meredith would like to nominate as this week's most valuable person.
Dean burned the bones, so I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, I think Dean did a lot this week. He was the one who did all the research. I mean, all he had to do was open John's journal, but he got the text message, opened the laptop, opened the journal again. Sam did help with the talking to people. Sam did all of the talking to potential witnesses and actual people, but Dean did most of the research, and he also saved Sam, and he burned the bones. So yeah, I feel like that's a solid choice.
He was busy this week.
Yeah, did some shit. let's put this episode to the Bechdel test. We didn't have two named women in this episode. We had Kat and we had Walter Kelly's unnamed wife.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk to one another and there was no conversations. So, nope, that's